So here we are out at sea
Here we are aboard a ghost ship.
on the next episode of Writing the Wrong Way.
This episode, and
We're running out of clean
the
water.
ghosts of Gregory Chomichuk,
Yeah,
author, illustrator.
So before we figured out how to use the microphone properly, we were talking
My
about
other ghost ran away. The ghost, the ghost of Jessie Taylor, a daughter extraordinaire.
Yeah, we were talking about if we were ghosts, what reason would we haunt?
Yeah, what would be the unfinished business where you would come back as a ghost, I guess, to try to finish your business?
And maybe...
Do you know what you would be, Greg?
I don't know. I'm feeling lately...
Gregory, I should say.
And it ties to, like, something we talked about that we might talk about on the podcast, is that I feel like you would want to come back and give advice to your children. I think I would be that ghost. I'd be the ghost that, like, is creaking down the stairs,
It's like,
right?
hey.
And tells the kid the thing that he didn't get a chance to tell them before they died. I think that's what we'd be.
Be like,
And
don't open that door.
Yeah, don't open that door, or
Don't open that door.
or more like
The guy behind it is going to kill you.
All
Like he did me.
criticism comes from a place of insecurity, right? You just like you would.
In your creepy ghost voice.
Yeah, that's. I feel like my creepy ghost voice. I need to work on.
Yeah.
Do you think it's hollow like that because they're like shouting from the great beyond, or because if they don't have a creepy ghost voice, no one will listen?
Well, I was going to ask you that. Do you think your kids would they listen to you?
Well, you know,
This
the
is
funny thing is by the time your ghost got enough prominence that they'd return to the place of your death to listen, they'd grow up past the point of needing any of that advice, probably.
See, I find that Jessie's, generally listens when I give her advice or tell her things. But at the same time,
At least in your...
I don't tell her a
Presence.
whole lot or give her a ton of advice because I'm very careful not to do it too much, or maybe she'll stop listening.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah, I've
yeah.
always tried. I've always tried to be a bit more.
Do you have advice that you give yourself?
Not give a lot of unsolicited advice, if that makes sense.
Right. Do you have advice that you give yourself?
That I do now, or
Yeah, like right now. Do you have advice that you give yourself?
like my past self, or what I
your
what I
present
try to
self.
remember right now.
Yeah. Like a present day advice we call, or you can call like a mantra, right? Like a present day piece of advice you're trying to give yourself is some idea that you meditate on or that you try to project.
It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing I just always try to remember is that it's not things aren't necessarily going to go as bad as I think they might go. Or
that's
like,
a good one. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I know I have certain tendencies, and I try to remind myself that I have certain tendencies. So like, I tend to worry about things. So if I find myself worrying about something, I try to remind myself that often
just
I
a
worry.
worried person.
Yeah, I'm a worried person. So maybe stop worrying so much. You know what I mean?
That's a
Like,
good bit of
I just try to like or like if I'm editing, just bring back to writing for a second. Like when I'm writing and editing, what I try to do is I think, okay, I remind myself, what are my problems as a writer? What am I bad at? Like, look for that
Yeah,
when
what are
you're
the
editing.
consistent feedback you get?
Like, I
from
don't
your
smell
copies?
very well, for example. I don't have a very good sense of smell.
Like you personally?
I personally don't have a very good sense of smell. And so
Oh, so it's absent from your descriptions.
yes, so I'll go in and like remind myself when I do descriptions to add smells in. Does that
So
make
any
sense?
olfactory descriptions in your stories are a lie? Is that what you're saying?
Just write all your characters as having like no sense of smell.
Yeah, all right. Well, I think
That's the cheating. way against
that's
it.
the cheating way.
Just writing what you know.
But what I think in general that's like how I try to approach it. Whether it's like a specific thing like the craft of writing, or like a deeper thing like
know that you're a
life
person.
lessons. I try to just remind myself, what are my tendencies? Who am and like what should I maybe think twice about? In terms of like just because my daughter's here, like in terms of like having a daughter, or whatever. Like one thing I always try to remind myself. Well, too, but I'm just saying like.
But you're grown up enough to,
because you're
like,
old
listen.
enough, like at different ages and things. Like one thing I always try to remind myself of with her was just like I would always think back to like my relationship with my dad, and I would think, well, what did I like in it? What did I not like? What did I wish he had done differently? Like a really simple thing is clothes shopping. I hated clothes shopping with my dad. So I really like tried to engineer clothes shopping with like Jessie as like a good experience.
So you learn what not to do in
Yeah.
one respect and then try to do the opposite.
In a lot of respects, like I would think to like what did really upset me, like, you know, and I'm not gonna always do the right thing or anything, but I would try to like be really mindful about certain things like that.
It's funny you say that because I've been thinking about that lately. You know, I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're into different stuff, but the stuff they're into, I try to make a conscious effort to actually pay attention to the nuances of the thing they're into. You know, like I've had some really long, in-depth conversations about Skylanders, not because I care about Skylanders, but because they do. And that's something that, like, my dad is a good dad, and he was pretty attentive while I was growing up. But the one thing he didn't do is things that were outside of his interest. He never delved into with me. And that's one thing that, for me, I was always like, oh man, I was really into this. I would have liked to have talked to you and got your perspective on it. So when my kids are asking me my perspective on whether or not I think, you know, this character or that character should have this power or that power set, I try to actually pay attention.
That's the ship's dog.
Right. Not because, you know, the nuances of this video game are important in the broad strokes, but communicating about a thing that someone is interested in, that is important. That's an important skill.
Well, we were just listening to Miley Cyrus in the car. Like, I remember back when she was into Hannah Montana, and I was like, fucking Hannah Montana, what is this shit? But you know what? I was like, you know what? I'll listen to it,
I just
whatever.
like the show. I never listened to her.
But you had a record of hers you played sometimes. But
it's truth talk here.
But anyway,
if you guys could see.
But the point is, Miley Cyrus is great. Like, if you actually listen to it, she's super talented. She's awesome. She's got some great country songs.
Just not to my taste.
But you should hear some of her, like, I don't like every Miley Cyrus song, but like, you know.
No, but this is what I'm saying.
It was one of those things where
you figure that out as you get older. Like, as much as maybe Skylanders is not to my taste, right? Because it's designed for 8 and 10-year-olds. It is well designed. And the more you talk to them about it, you can see what elements are there that engaged with them. Yeah. And then you learn a little something about them, right?
Yeah, like we went to Kanye West together, and you know, I was one of those things is like I tried to just like stay up on what music was out, and not that I like all her music or anything, but like a lot of
Nor
it.
Nor does she like your music, I strongly suspect.
Sure, but like there is a lot of music we like together, you know, partly because like I made an effort to not dislike it, you know, like because I remember growing up, like that was a big thing. It was like, you know, it's like stuff that's important to me, like you say, like my music, whatever.
And your parents just would be like, yeah, I don't get it. Don't care for it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world necessarily, but it is like just another one of those things, right?
Okay, but it is a big thing.
Well, when you're a teenager, it certainly is a bigger thing.
That's right, because your world is that big. Your world is that size.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want someone to engage with your world at that size.
What's your mantra, Jessie, that you try to remind yourself
My
of?
mantra?
Like your
Well,
the thing you try to keep in mind or remind yourself of or tell
I
yourself.
heard a really good piece of advice today from a coworker. She said, people should respond, not react to
Sure.
situations. And in the sense that, like, when you're faced with something difficult, you should always see, like, how can I move with this rather than against?
Right.
And, like, to do things with caution and with empathy
Or if you just think
and
through
caring rather than just to react.
Right.
And to react with.
That's a strong piece of
fear and
advice.
anger. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I have,
it. But what's your unfinished business? So that's, you know.
Oh, yeah, we're
thing
coming
you
back
keep in
around.
mind. But like, what's your unfinished, or what would you go back and tell you?
Well, right, I think your unfinished business, if you're a
Well, you
ghost,
said your unfinished business.
yeah,
Was, you know, telling
comes back
advice,
around
but
to
like,
the thing that you wish.
What other pieces of advice would you give your
Young self?
young self?
I don't know about my young self, but I legit keep a
What about
list.
you, Jessie?
Here's a funny thing.
My young
Jesse's
self?
19.
Like
What would you give your younger
my
self?
Child.
What child advice
child
would you
self?
give? Jessie just finished her
Kid
first
self?
year of university.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a big 19-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And she's going to go on a trip to Europe for a month. She's got lots of
That's gonna be hard on you,
She's
Pops.
going to be a teen soon. I'm actually excited for this trip.
I'm
I thought I'd
gonna
be
be a
more
teen
nervous about it.
soon,
Are you going to be not a teen soon?
She's going to be a teenager soon.
She's moving out of her teenager years in January. She won't be a teenager anymore. So, what would you tell your younger self as you, with the wisdom of age,
my kid self or my
move
young
towards
teenage
20?
self? 'Cause I feel
Well,
like
whatever,
those are
I
very
guess.
different.
Either one, I suppose. Who do you think would need the advice more and what that you could give them?
Maybe the way to frame it is like, what advice do you wish you had had sooner?
Sure, that's
that's
maybe a
a good way
better
of it.
way to think of it. Yeah.
I keep a list of advice I wish I had had sooner.
Well,
That's
why don't you
smart.
start while Jessie
I should
thinks?
do that.
Right, and I keep adding to it every time I get something, like, and it's long. We can't,
Let's start with Greg's
can't
list.
go through the whole thing.
I'll
pick some favorites in here.
Faves,
Okay, well,
and while we think of our pieces of advice,
I'll try to find the ones in here that feel the most like ancient wisdoms. Like, when you're thirsty, it's too late to start digging a well. Which to me is representative of my freelance career right now, right? It's like, when you need the money, you can't then go looking for it. You have to have dug that well already
Right.
so that you can draw water from it, right? You need that client list. You need to have a back catalog. You need to have a bunch of systems in place for which to draw the water.
what about specifically? Because you not too long ago went full time as a freelancer, artist, writer, whatever you want to call yourself.
Specifically to that, you cannot influence the world by being just like it.
Sure. That was a big thing for your career specifically, because you did, I think, like
true?
many people do, I think you probably had a lot of advice to, like, in terms of like make your stuff more like normal stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah, constantly. Yeah, why don't you do
I
something
get that
more
a lot.
mainstream? Why don't you do something that everyone could read? Why don't you do something... And now I know that I should have asked those people who were not writers, give me an example of a book everyone can read,
Yeah.
to which there is no example, right? Because everything is to somebody's taste,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like Miley Cyrus, hugely popular, not to my taste, right? But that's not either of our faults.
Well,
Right.
I always say you should divide the audience as fast as possible.
That's-
Because you can't be somebody's favorite band unless you're somebody's least favorite band. But it's the same
You should
piece of
seek out your
advice.
haters first.
Stick out your haters. I like that. But who is it? There's some rapper I was just
Wait,
listening to.
there's
They
wisdom
were
there that
talking
I don't
about,
quite
like,
understand.
They're
What do you mean by
haters.
that?
I think it's
Seek
Drake.
out your haters. Dig
There's
down
some
into
line
that.
about by Drake or somebody where
Well,
he
you-
says something like that. It's like his haters made him famous or
You
something.
said you should split the audience as soon as possible, and that there are people
Yeah.
that dislike you and that like you.
That's how wedge politics works, and it's why Donald Trump is
said you
president.
seek out your
and it's
haters.
also why like
But
artists
I
can
don't
be
really know
successful.
what I meant by that, to be honest.
What, say that again?
Seeking out your
Sorry?
haters.
Seek out your haters, but I don't really know what I meant by that. I think it just...
I think it's the same piece of advice in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
it's
You
kind of-
find
I
that
just
it's just a
rephrase it.
different way of framing it. It's like you find the people who don't like. The thing is, if somebody
Or, like-
really hates your work,
I feel like it's easier to... I think it's easier to see who's not a good person for your life than it is... than it is to see who is. Just kind of like... Kind of like fans, too.
well, it's like
Easy to see
it helps you either way. I think.
who's not going to be helpful.
Yeah, because
Understand
people
what you're
who
doing.
are inspired by you are not necessarily the kind of people you would want to be yourself. Because again, it's that idea that then you wouldn't have anything
To offer them.
to offer them.
Yeah.
Fame is a mask that eats
You know what
the
I
face.
wish I had given advice I wish I had been given on a purely career level when I was young. I wish I hadn't been encouraged to have a backup plan. I wish I had
Really?
not made a backup plan. I'm
Yeah.
so far behind.
What was your backup plan?
My backup plan was to teach, and I'm so far. And now I'm scrambling to like eliminate teaching from my life, and backpedal from like the what career I had built teaching, because from pure career perspective, it's been a bad plan. I should have been all in with my art.
Well,
I should have starved and been all in with it, and I would be in a better position now, and even in financial ways.
well, and there's an interesting bit. I don't know where I heard this stat, but the internet could clarify it for anyone who's that interested. But there is a statistical probability among acrobats. They fall more often when there's a net.
When there is a net?
When there is a net, they fall more often.
But that's exactly
And when
it.
you remove the net, it's life or death now.
Right.
So you don't make mistakes. There's this underlying ease that your subconscious sets into when you say to yourself, yeah, but what's the worst that could happen?
But the other thing is you can get up when you're young, you can get up faster. So like even if it had all failed me on a career level and I had totally, it was a mistake and I had completely fallen and I shouldn't have been all in.
You might have known that by 25
I
and
would
you could
have
have done
known
something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I've realized I could have made a full-time career out of this.
Right.
I'm actually not as far from doing as I thought I was, but I'm not there. And so and it's harder and harder to get there because now you have all the obligations.
See, but I see the flip of that. Well, I mean, but the comic book land is a little bit different place. But, you know, I've often, and I think a lot of us late bloomers into the creative world do this, you pick a few people in the constellation of people you admire who started late in life, right? Like,
Sure.
So Jack Kirby didn't start designing all the characters that you know and love now in the Marvel Universe until he was in his 40s. He was like 42, 43 when he first did Fantastic Four, right? Now, he had been working in comics and working and grinding and doing the hard work. It wasn't like he suddenly was like, oh, I guess I'll make comics now at 40. But there's also this trajectory that you can put yourself on that takes time before you really hit your stride. And I mean,
Sure.
he is well renowned now for making all the characters in all the hit franchise films that are out there now in comics and everything else, but he didn't get the credit or the money for them. So
I like to say I'm a victim of my small success, where it's like I kind of very fast got like a certain level of success where it wasn't like enough to sustain me, but it was like it wasn't enough it was enough that I knew I shouldn't quit. But then like all the administration of it started to like creep into my creative time, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I do know.
And now it's like this balancing act where it's very hard to now I have to like flip switches day per day. Like, am I gonna do like non-creative work or do creative work? Like I have to really cordon it off, and I'm just, you know, depending on how much money I've got for this or for that, I like will do more or less. But it's like I find it is more of a balancing act now that I'd have less time, you know, and I need more money than I needed when I was young. Like that's the
real
real thing, is like you need more money when you're older.
That's
like,
the pivot. Anyone who's listening to this podcast who is a young person, take those risks while you have no assets and you need almost no assets.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you need? You need a place to live. You can live cheap as can be when you're young. And you need to eat. You can eat cheap as can be when you're young. Right? If you can get into a Spartan mindset and say, like, I'm going to adopt this low-income lifestyle so that I can spend 5-6 years honing my craft. Other people do it just so they can be lazy and play Xbox, right? That's a different thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's never too late, like you say, but it is easier to kind of make shifts. Like, again, even if you decide, like, hey, I've been doing this thing and I'm done, or, you know, I want the normal day job or whatever, like, even if you decide that, like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, I feel like it's...
Yeah, stability's fine if that's what you're
It's easier
after,
to try things when you're younger, and it's easier to see what you know. And I think you should just try a lot of things. Personally, I think you should try a lot of things when you're younger, so you can figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at.
And it's never too late.
And it's never too late
to die happy. So like you can
always crash,
right? You can
James Dean.
You can change. You can change some things, and maybe it won't work.
It's just easier to change directions and just you know, like you see, you know, it just is before you have, like, I don't know, whatever else.
But incremental change is important. People get into this, into their head that they need some huge, pivotal, life-altering event to change the direction of their lives or their creative practice. The truth is that even a tiny incremental change made every day, you know, like
or even just every week, like on a regular basis.
Yeah, I stole this probably from a book that you lent me. It's the idea that if you make a 1% change in your habits over the course of a day, that is imperceptible. But over the course of the year, you're 300 times better.
James Clear, Atomic Habits. So the author's James Clear on the book
That's what it
Atomic
was, yeah.
Habits.
Like
It's
that
something
book.
I want to talk a lot about in a later podcast. I'm going to do like a lengthy discussion on that.
Right.
Whenever you give it back to me, I'm going to do a lengthy
I
discussion.
may have
on
to
that
get you a
book.
new copy. I'm not giving it back.
But the other thing he says in that book, which is really interesting, I found is like exactly that idea of he said he gets into like schedules and starting new habits and how to eliminate old habits. And one of the really interesting things he says is if you want to start a new habit, again, like people always have this massive idea. Like, say you want to write every day, and that's your goal. You want to write every day. People will say,
What
I
are you
want
talking
to
about?
write an hour every day. I want to write 2 hours every day, and then they don't do it, and they
Yeah.
get discouraged. And what he says, like anything, whether it's going to the gym or whatever, you just start do for 2 minutes. Do for 2 minutes every day.
So I was reading that chapter. I know what you're talking about. It's habit stacking is what he
Yeah.
calls it. And I realized that I had inadvertently helped my writing career using this method of habit stacking without knowing that that's what it was called or that this was a psychological phenomenon. It just became a thing I did. When my son was first born, my oldest son was first born, I was out at the pharmacy late at night a fair amount, right, to get things, to do things. And I would be waiting in line at the 24-hour place, and I would open my phone and I would write a sentence or two of a story. And it turned into this habit that I have now, which is when I'm in line at certain kinds of lines, I have a story I write only in that line. So I have a story that I only write in line at the bank. When I'm in line at the bank, I open that, I add a few sentences to that story. When I'm in line at the grocery store, I add a few sentences to the grocery store short story, right?
That's interesting.
And so on and so forth. And so what it means is, and the grocery store one is the one I usually finish the first, right? But I find myself, rather than, oh no, look at this lineup at the grocery store, grumble, grumble,
You just turned it into
lament
an
my life.
opportunity.
You pick the longest line.
I pick the longest line,
Yeah, yeah.
and I write the most, right?
Sure.
And it becomes this way of habit stacking. It's like a thing that is going to happen in your week or in your day, no matter what. You use as a trigger for making an incremental change.
A concept I teach when I do creative writing classes and stuff is I tell them, make a writing schedule when you're going to write, in a regular week. You write this much time on Tuesday, on Wednesday, whatever. And, they'll write up their little schedule when they're planning to write. And then I say, throw that away. And now make your hell week schedule when the whole week is horrible and it's going to hell. Your boyfriend just broke up with you or whatever. And your dog dies and like everything bad happens. When will you write that week?
Yeah.
And like that becomes your schedule. And you just do that.
Yeah.
And if you can do more than that, that's great. But if you can't do that, like you need to figure out like the basic
and
thing
this is
that
what
you can
I mean.
maintain.
So that autonomic stacking of a little bit of writing, this works for me because no matter how busy or how awful or how hectic that week is, eventually we need groceries. Eventually I have to go to the bank. Eventually I have to go to the drugstore. Eventually those things come in and I'll get some writing time in no matter how hectic my week is.
And you also just learn you can do things you can take 10 minutes and produce something.
That, if there was advice I could tell my younger self, it's that, when you meet that muse, just tell them that you're done. They could carry on with their life now because you don't need them anymore. Like the idea that you should be in some kind of euphoric emotional state in order to produce, that's great if you're going to produce one perfect thing in your life. But I plan on being a creative professional, meaning that I have to produce many things every day for the rest of my life. Right? So I have to show up to work whether I feel like it or not.
Yeah.
And produce things.
That's the thing I find hard with writing is that I just it's hard to accept that it's just not always gonna be perfect.
It's because you're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I remember when she was really young, she would draw like a picture and then she'd throw it away because she colored outside the line or she wrote the letter backwards or something. And I've got those tendencies.
See, I
too.
just publish those things.
I've got those tendencies too. It's like you just have to get over it at a certain point.
Yeah.
I still do it for certain things. Like I'm doing my proofs on my book right now, the book coming out this fall, and I'll go over that like way more than another person might, or way more than I need to. I'll change a lot of stuff in the proofs because you shouldn't really change anything in the proofs, but I'll make a lot of changes. I'm talking to my editor about okay, which page should this thing start on? Should we move this thing here? Like, I get very picky with it, and my publisher's been really like. Here's an example. So there's one of the poems is just a quote from Shakespeare. The rest of it's like a sonnet, and the whole sonnet is basically erased, and it just has like this quote from Shakespeare as the ending couplet. And so, but the way the quote works is it's just like a couple words on. Like there are 2 lines in the original Shakespeare, and I'm just deleting, I'm just deleting like a bunch of this text, and then there's like a couple words left at the end of the line.
Yeah.
So me and the editor are like, okay, let's find I'm like, here's the exact words, and it's like she's like putting them in the document exactly how much space would be before this quotation mark comes in. Then she's like erasing it all and like maintaining precise that amount of space. So it's like exactly the amount of space that would actually occupy the text if it was there, but it's not there, Greg.
Right.
Like that's the level of like perfectionism that like I'm interested in at that stage. But
Me not.
you can't ever get to that stage
No,
otherwise.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that level of. See, I find myself that if I let myself get hung up on those finer, like really critical. I mean, and they are critical details. Don't get me wrong.
But they're only critical at that moment.
But
they're not
if I let
critical,
myself get tangled up in them, I don't get anything done. I just spiral into the wrong state of mind. I just let my errors be errors, and then hopefully we'll catch them all before they see print. And if they don't, I'm already on to something else. I've broken up with it by then.
See, I've been trying to get closer to where you are at, but I will maintain it like at this stage in this particular process. But like before that stage, it will not serve me at all.
Right.
This is the only time when that perfectionism actually will serve me.
See, other
Do you know what I
advice. Yeah.
You have to contain it. You know?
Yeah.
But that's a tendency again that I have towards this perfectionism and not getting things done and going on things endlessly and endlessly.
See, advice
Jesse will tell you I'll say the same shit over and over.
Advice that I've internalized now,
you know,
the last 5-10 years, but that I wish I had known 20 years ago, is that other people's opinions of you
are their own business.
Yeah, they're not your business. They're their business.
You're not your business.
So who cares? Right? Like they're not. Yeah, sure. There are people that don't like you.
Have you thought of things you would say, like a piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Well, I actually was about to say that exact thing.
Yeah.
It's like other people's opinions of you are none of your business. I think, and just that, you know, if there are people that, and not just people, but like habits and places you spend your time and just like anything really that either add to your life or suck energy from your life. And so those things that suck energy are not worth, like you can only give so much in a day and in a week and in your life that it's there's no point in putting your energy into things that don't matter and that don't give back to you.
Or you don't even
don't give positivity in some way to something.
I'm not at that place with social media now. I'm just like, I won't even go on it anymore because I just find it so draining.
It can be draining, yeah, for sure.
Once in a while,
I have a very different relationship
rarely in the mood
with it now than I did like even a few years ago, for sure.
Yeah, just to let those things go.
Yeah.
That, like, don't
It is that place.
add to your life.
And as you say, like, there's like two sides of it, though, right?
Stuff.
There's like people taking your energy, but there's also like you giving your energy to things
That don't need it.
that they don't need it. You know?
Yeah. The other thing, how is it worded?
just
If you
certain-
don't want to be deceived, know what you are hungry for.
I've heard you say that before, and I find
Yeah.
that interesting.
And that is, like in publishing, like if you scale it back, if you think of, we know dozens of people who were very disillusioned by their first publishing experience. And that's because they were hungry for the wrong part. They were hungry for the fame that would come from being a national bestseller rather than hungry for making a book.
I know so many people, or there's some other thing. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's not the fame thing, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But other times it's just they have an expectation, and it's just not the right expectation, right? Like, but I know so many people who they've done one amazing book, and I don't think they'll ever do another one.
Right.
And they're often extremely talented people, super smart, often very sensitive, maybe a bit too much.
See, that sensitivity, I think, is related to their use of the muse.
It depends on the
Right? They've figured out how to tap it, and they've figured out that the writing they get from it or the creative effort they get from it is pure and good and exhilarating and wonderful. Like, don't get me wrong, when the muse shows up, I love it. But when the muse doesn't show up, I can't not work. Right? I have to also work that day.
Well, the other thing is, if you actually have been working for a while in any capacity, what you realize at a certain point is you can't go back and look at like the story you wrote and figure out when you were inspired and when you weren't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like objectively, there's no difference.
Yeah, not to the reader.
Not to the reader. Like
Yeah.
to you, the experience is different, but like the material's not necessarily different. You did a really great. Jessie did a really great. She just did a creative writing class, and she did some really great work for it. Like the stuff that I've seen. You saw that one story I showed you, a little short
Oh, yeah. I did
horror
see that.
story she wrote.
I like that one.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was excellent. But let me ask you a question, because you were sending some work around. Did you get a response from your place yet? She finally submitted some work to like a real journal.
And then other things I just haven't.
So you
You got a rejection.
She did get
Hooray,
a rejection.
congratulations.
I was gonna say that's great.
No, that's awesome.
How is it? What did it feel like to get the rejection? Did it bother you, or like what was your response?
I don't know. I was kind of expecting it. So.
I think I told you to expect it. Now it was a very good piece that could have been published, but you should always expect the rejection, right?
I mean, it's hard. Like I find it's hard to respond to things in email because it's just.
It doesn't seem
It
real.
doesn't feel like a real communicate. I don't know.
But it didn't like shatter your world,
No.
even though you
I
do
mean, I
like
was disappointed,
sure.
but I wasn't.
Okay, but what was that disappointment made of?
Well,
Or it's important to
I
know.
don't know if it
Good
makes
question,
sense,
yeah.
but I almost didn't want it published in that.
Yeah.
Like because the piece that I had submitted to me, just like, I don't know, it was a piece that I was really proud of and that I really want to do something with, but that, I don't know, to me, like, I want to get it out there, but I just, in retrospect, I felt like to have it just in some magazine and people aren't even going to look at it, like, kind of, it's disappointing to me, even. That makes sense?
So that's a very realistic way to look at it, because a lot of people will think like, oh, everyone's going to see it if it's in this magazine.
Yeah, no.
Not that you shouldn't try to get in this
I almost
magazine
feel like it was a
necessarily.
like it would have been a waste of, I don't know. Not that I can't use it later, but you know what I
This
mean?
is the
A
one.
waste,
This is
yeah.
one thing she does get from me, which is
Yeah, you're well trained in a little nihilistic.
the ambition though of like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a waste to give it to this world magazine.
Yeah, no.
I could do so much bigger things with this.
But like what? That's the thing. It's like, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I wished earlier I had accepted the idea that submitting, being rejected, and being published in any way you could get it those were all made of the same stuff. Like the core thing that made all of them possible was writing every day.
Yeah,
Right.
regularly at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like that kind of thing, I wish somebody had told me that I need to just focus on the numbers. Like I need to focus.
Like on the word
I need
count,
to
you mean?
focus on like
Really?
turning out material, in terms of submitting work. I wish I should have like focused on like submitting work regularly. Like I've gone in fits and starts with submitting. Even when I've been very regular with writing, I've gone fits and starts of finishing and submitting things. And I should just always have been submitting things constantly. And when things come back to me, I should submit them again. And
Yeah, it's
I wish I
easy to
had
say that. It's easy to say that. I preach that on my own podcast, but the truth is, your ego can be a fragile thing, and you're not yet ready to have that feedback once you've just finished a thing. Sometimes you just want to be like, okay, I did that.
Yeah.
That's enough. I'm glad I wrote it.
But I'll
That's
forget
great.
that I even wrote it. 'Cause
I've
I just
been
keep
doing
going, right?
Well, I went
Like
through.
I'll find stuff I never submitted even.
Yeah, I just
it's
went
good.
through like the logic board on my computer went, so I was transferring stuff off the hard drive. Like I do backups regularly, but now that I have a new computer, it's like what to transfer from the old computer to the new one. And I found a whole bunch of writing I had completely forgotten I had ever undertaken. Like just reams of stuff. And reading through, some of it was awful, and some of it was pretty good. Like, unobjectively, because I'm reading my own stuff. So of course, if I think it's good, that's only one thing. But now I had this wealth of material, which I had literally forgotten creating, because I was creating stuff on such a regular, for lack of a better way to describe it, uninspired interval, right? It wasn't the muse, and so I didn't remember it so fondly. But as a practical piece of writing, they were some pretty good first drafts that once I read through them, I said, oh, if I put some inspired moments into this, the work is done.
Right.
I find even more simply than that, like I wish that I had just a system so I knew, like right now I'm trying to like put together an inventory list of like, I'm trying to like catalog like what writing have I done? What, put it in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like where has it been published? Has it not been published? Like is it available to be published? Like because when I did my will, I'm looking at my will. I'm like, how much money does Jessie get, and all these. I'm like figuring it all out, and I'm like, I had to get that part of my will, which was like
assigning your intellectual property.
Yeah. Assigning it to I forget how it sorts out, but more or less like she gets control of it. Is what it boils down to, at this point. Like you'll change when her siblings are older, but anyway, the lawyer was like, well, where's your list of intellectual property?
Right. Yes.
And I'm like, that's a good. He's like, it doesn't need to be in the will. He goes, but she should.
Yeah, right. So like one practical side is that if you're submitting things regularly, then you at least have those because you have that list of rejections. Or if you're publishing regularly, you have those.
Is in that box or whatever.
Yeah. In the red box.
But it's just this is the problem with the cloud or whatever. Like it's in your laptop or it's just everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's on the computer. Like I can't find it half the time,
right?
Because I've just changed my system so much. It's like now I'm in the point where now I kind of know how to make a system that works and how to like put a process together.
Right.
But it's almost like McDonald's. Like I wish I had a process where I could show another person, so like they could submit. Like why not like hire a virtual assistant for $10 an hour or whatever it is to submit my work around?
Right. Why don't you do that?
Because I don't have I don't have any list of it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Do you mean I don't have a process in place where I could pay Jessie if she doesn't have enough hours at work, pay her to like submit my work around, and I would still make money or whatever. Like I should be able to offload it because at some point in life you're dead, and like what do you like?
That's true.
But from like a business perspective, like
on the go ship.
Like, what do people do with like your stuff? Like, here's a bunch of your stuff.
Just throw it all out. Start again.
That's fine for some things, but for other things, like if you're thinking about like leaving an inheritance to your children or something, like it is a thing where you want to consider. Like, well, what value does this have?
What you're suggesting is because you'll be a writer, the only inheritance you'll have will be your work. Is that what you're saying?
Do you know that the Canada tax law, Stephen Harper changed it, and now it says in the tax law that the government of Canada recognizes that an artist may never profit until in their lifetime. So you don't, unlike other small businesses, you don't have to show reasonable expectation of profit.
Excellent. That's actually an interesting, it's a harsh indictment of the creative life, but it's rare when a bureaucracy will recognize the futility of another thing. Since the bureaucracy runs on futility, they usually it's like the elephant in the room. They just don't address futility.
Those are two good things that Stephen Harper did. Was he changed the tax code in that respect,
and he also brought back sweater vests.
Well,
like he popularized sweater vests again, I think, right?
And also,
and staring right at the camera.
Scholarships are not taxable income.
Right. Yes.
Other than that, though, I'm not a.
Oh, they were.
I read a poem about Stephen Harper. Jessie's favorite poem in my new book is.
Is it my favorite or is it my least favorite?
That was you said. Is it my favorite or my least favorite? You said it was a perfect poem. Yeah, I shouldn't change a word.
Okay.
Your least favorite, I probably took out of the.
There was another one that was like Canadian related that I didn't like as much.
Yeah, you didn't like it as much as I did.
Another piece of advice I found on my list here that is pertinent to you, I think. horror movies that rip off the shark from Jaws are ripping off the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly right. We talk about
I never
horror.
saw Jaws, so I don't really get that.
Well,
I
so
can't
Jaws is,
watch
you know,
that.
if I were to ask you what is Jaws about, I bet you could tell me,
It's about a shark.
right? That does what?
Eats people at the beach.
Eats people at the beach, right. But what Jaws is really about is about a family torn up by divorce that is trying to find its way in this new territory. And a shark happens to interrupt their summer, right? When you're ripping off Jaws, you should be ripping off the human moments. You should be looking at that script and
Right.
saying, okay, a giant shark eating people is dumb. You're not going to get people to like or understand that. What you have to get them to like or understand are the people he's going to eat.
The connections.
Right? Connect with those people first. Like those people a lot. Man, that dad is such a good dad. He believes so strongly in the love he has for his family that when he's out on that water, he has something to risk that you can connect to. Right? Like, don't rip off the wrong thing. And I spent from 15 to 25 writing monster stories that were trying to make great monsters instead of trying to make great people for the monsters to eat.
That is something I wish I kind of had known sooner, was that the content, like what the thing is about, doesn't matter so much. Mm-hmm. Like the form is so of such overriding importance. Like what's more important than so much, like in a comic book, one of the most important things is when you turn the page.
Right.
Like that's the sort of thing that I wish I'd understood when I was younger. It's like that so much of it is the structure. I find when I'm editing, this is, even when I'm just hired to edit, like and look at somebody else's work, like almost all the mistakes are structural mistakes. They're these invisible things that you can't just see because they're not the words on the page. There's some like way that the words are, like it's the way that the story is laid out, or it's the way that the page is arranged, or even just like the
Well, that's what
default
helped me with,
setting.
like just even basic like essays, like just getting through school.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
recognizing
I
the
help-
structure underneath. Yeah.
Well, she really is good at it, got good at writing essays. Part of it was that you could see it clicking. She's always been very good at like structural stuff.
Once you get the structure of an essay, like an academic essay, they're actually not hard at all. It's actually it's frightening.
Just the research.
That the labor is actually in the research, not in the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way back in, I forget what grade, probably grade 6, I think, she did an essay on, or a book
Especially if
review.
you do it all in one night.
Huh?
I said especially if you do it all in one night.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
She did a book review for Odd and the Frost Giants by Neil Gaiman,
Oh yeah.
which was her favorite book at the time. And I remember like she wanted me to read it, so I'm like reading through it, and she had a semicolon in it, and I said like, I go, how do you know how to use the semicolon?
You're very interrogative.
She was like, I don't know, did I do it wrong? I'm like, no, you did it right. I'm like, how'd you know to do it right? Like, did they teach you how to use semicolons in school and so on? And like, you know, but I was
They
like,
do not.
because I'm trying to teach university students how to use semicolons.
Yeah.
And she's like in grade 6 using the semicolon right, and she
Well,
didn't
now I
know
don't think
how
I
to
use them- I don't think
explain.
I use them properly anymore.
She doesn't anymore. She unlearned
It's
it.
just equal before and after. The two statements have to be of equal validity before and after the semicolon. They have to be made
Well,
of
the
same
simplest
stuff.
way to remember it is what, Jesse?
Now there's so many rules. For
What's the
everything.
simplest way to remember whether you can use a semicolon
If
or
you
not?
can substitute for a period.
That's right. If you can substitute it for a period, then it
Which
is
is basically
correct.
what Greg said.
Yeah.
It is, but I'm just, you know,
Your way's
simplifying
better.
it
Your way's
sounded
simpler.
fancier.
for people
Yeah.
at home. Greg's giving
Who are
me
just
the-
like, man, the semicolons really got me down.
Get it.
Well, but what I'm saying, but the point of the story is like, she was always very good at like, just it clicked with her like how the structure worked. Oh, like she didn't know why she was right, but she
Right.
knew this was right.
You catch the structure.
Because
well,
she'd seen it enough in books or whatever.
Right.
Like
Oh, my
so like her mind works well on that meta
youthful
level.
days. I said, oh, my youthful days.
The youthful days before they untaught you how to use semicolons.
yeah. It's
But
true.
I find like that's like a hard thing to get. Like that's a lesson I wish I'd learned earlier, which was I got to kind of get out of my head a little bit and like second guessing things and go with my gut a bit in terms of
put
what
that
feels like
semicolon
it's
in
going to
there.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. In your first draft, a
that's-
semicolon can be wherever you want
Yeah.
in the first draft.
Can't even start with a semicolon.
Yeah.
But even just like, why would you use a semicolon versus a period? Like, because grammatically they have the same function. But like one, structurally they feel different. Like there's different ways that.
No, but to
Like,
correctly use a semicolon, the thing you say before
Yeah.
the semicolon should be equal in content to the thing after the semicolon. It just should be stated in a different way.
you're getting confused with it.
No,
The way you're phrasing it.
maybe the way I'm phrasing it, but
it's
trying
two
to think of a
independent
strong-
clauses.
What's that?
It's joining two independent clauses.
Independent
Like,
clauses, but the independent clauses should be equal.
They don't have to be grammatically, but you're right. Structurally, like it's
Yeah.
more elegant if they are equal.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would you use it otherwise? Use a period.
Exactly.
The only reason to use a semicolon
You have very
is
strong
for
opinions
no, I have
about
yeah, because I
semicolons,
also
even more
taught
than
writing.
I.
The only reason to use the semicolon, in my opinion, is for its elegance. If you're not going to equate the two things, use a period because they're
Beckett's,
separate. The period separates, the semicolon connects.
That's
Samuel
interesting.
Beckett has some quote about semicolons and why you should
I
never
bet.
use them, but I forget what it was.
I think we should talk about adverbs because you love those.
Well, but just back to the original question.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment on adverbs. But back to the original, like
He said
thing,
quizzically.
it's just like I find so much of the writing I do now, or like the way I think of writing now and editing is I just wish I had known sooner that what mattered the most was the reader's reaction and manipulating their reactions.
He
And
said
not,
carefully.
and not so much like, but like that's where like you could use like words to just pace people, or you could use like, you know what I mean, like you could use the white space on a page. Like in these proofs I'm going through, like I say, like there's a one part where my editor Alana, she like I've got I think 3 editors on this book. So Jessie was my first editor, and then Susan Holbrook was the editor, and then now I'm with Alana, who's like Wilcox, who like runs the press and is the main editor. But Jessie was like the one who gave me the most feedback. And
What's interesting about that to
drafts
me
on.
is because, from your perspective, the poem has to be interesting, right?
Right.
It won't get tangled up in the academic pursuit of whether or not this is a smart thing because you understand a convention or the long literary history of something. If a person who has not spent a long time studying literature reads a poem that is difficult or esoteric and finds it interesting, it survived the first culling. It survives a very important step, right?
my first stage of editing, like I had her do, which you know where she started, you know, editing this book with me was, I made her just read each page
You made me turn
and
it
just
off.
turn. You can turn this. You know,
No,
thing
that's
like
okay.
that. But
I'm fine. Just need to drink more
But
water.
I gave her like manuscripts, you know, these, I forget how many poems, like 100 poems, whatever it is. And I'm like, just put, you know, check marks, X's, or question marks.
Right.
No other commentary.
So I have a question for you then about your
Okay.
father's writing.
Do you even like it?
No, I wouldn't go that. No.
I don't
no,
care if
no.
people like it.
No. What is something that you see consistent in his writing that you
That's
can
interesting.
recognize as being stylistically consistent? What's something he always does?
Stylistically consistent?
Yeah, like what does
I
he
don't know
always
if I-
do? What's something he always does that
curious to
you,
know
as
this.
his daughter, would say like, oh yeah, my dad always does this.
I feel like I don't have a consistent style, so I'm very curious about this answer, actually, yeah.
The way she said "really" tells me that you do.
I'm sure I do.
You just don't think you do.
You write about like nightmares often, dying,
Nightmares and dying.
nightmares and dying,
That's
and,
right.
like
Which loops back to the beginning of our conversation about you being a worrier,
God.
accepting that you're a worrier, right? But you have to remember that your worries,
Nightmares and
right? Your worries and your hopes are made of the
Jonathan
same
Ball
stuff.
story.
Yeah, they're both imaginary. What you worry about and what you hope for, neither of them have happened yet. So you
It's
can
like a
pick
Tom
which
Petty
one you're
lyric.
going to do.
Well,
Right.
most things I worry about never happen anyway.
Yeah, they don't. Most things you wish for don't happen either. But
That's
if you
true.
spend more time wishing and less time worrying, you'll be generally happy.
better outcome. Yeah.
Do you think style? That's a content thing. Do you think style? I do a
Oh,
stylistic thing.
stylistic?
I don't know if I have a consistent style.
I think
Maybe.
no. Like
I mean, sure. There's tricks that I use.
I don't know how to identify what I'm thinking of right now.
No. If it comes to you,
I
do you
find-
think I have? You
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
read as much of my
You-
stuff. but-
Yeah, I've read more. I probably haven't read as much as I've only read the stuff that survived to publication in most cases.
Yeah, like she's
Right.
read unpublished books.
She's read the
She may have
unpublished stuff.
forgotten a lot of it.
Yeah, but I find that your stuff.
She read the YA novel I co-wrote, which nobody has read.
If there is a established convention within a genre, you try to immediately subvert it in like 2 or 3 breaths,
Yeah.
Sure.
right? Like to
Maybe, like-
address that it exists and then flip it over. Like Clockfire is a great
But I'll do
example.
in that order, right?
You like to state something and then like state it backwards.
Yes.
Sure, that's interesting.
And then
yeah.
kind of, yeah. Like, but so it's like almost a repetition.
Yeah, it's true. You do. You
I like
play with
repetition
subject
a
and
lot.
predicate.
Like you very,
Yeah.
you like.
You
play
turn the
around.
predicate into the subject and the subject into the predicate in
Think of an example.
in
I'll get edits like this, like edit comments like this a lot, where editors will come to me and they'll be like, you're not using a question mark here, where normally a person would use a question mark.
Yeah,
and
you're
it
making
seems
a
like that's
statement.
intentional.
Yeah.
Like I have a line in Politics of Knives where the poem, The Politics of Knives, ends with "What to do when the sheep elect wolves," and then it's a period,
Right.
as if like this was everything you read before is what we should do when
Right.
the sheep elect wolves. But normally that'd be a question, and like I like to do that
like
sort
you
of thing.
almost structurally undo the structure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I never thought of it
Right.
that way, but I think you're right. I think that's exactly what I do.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I try to do it.
See,
I try to be
what's-
sparing with it though too.
Right.
'Cause
So
you
in
can't do too
100
much.
poems that you read, how many of them ended up in the book?
I mean, I can't remember how many poems are in the book.
Right, but like roughly, like half?
It's 128
Most of
pages
them.
from front to end, so
Right.
they're not all poems.
I didn't
But
X too many of them.
she X'd a lot of them. She was really good.
You say not too many. So that's his hurt ego.
But okay, no,
Right.
it didn't bother me. I liked it. Although a couple of them I was pained to me. My favorite comment is that I always go on about is so like initially when we were doing this, I just was like trying to like give her a non-demanding way to like like X poems that were about her that she didn't want in the book.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like without telling me she didn't want
Though.
it.
You kind of freaked me out when you said that. I was like,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But it like if
at
it
least
really,
not that I recognize.
but then I gave her like the opportunity without saying what it was. I gave her the opportunity without explaining herself
Yeah.
to just
To veto them.
veto any poem that she didn't think was good for without explaining why. And I was surprised that she didn't do that.
Ariel Gordon, who just did Treed, like she just released Treed.
Oh, I
there's
read into her
there's an essay in there where I am mentioned, and as a completely unnecessary but very much appreciated, she reached out to me to say like, I discuss you by name and by situation in this essay.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to go to print in like 3 days, it occurs to me that I didn't ask you.
That's nice.
She was not required to ask me about an event she was party to, right? She was present. She was only telling her side of that event. But she gave me the opportunity to veto my appearance in that
nice.
story. Not necessary, but it did feel there was like that sense of power where you're like, I can edit my own life here. But
See, I felt if I went to Jessie and said, "There's poems about you in this book. Do you want me to include them or do you want me to cut them out?" I felt like if I said that, if she wanted them cut out, she would be afraid to tell me because of whatever reason. She didn't want to like hurt my feelings or whatever.
were there ones in there
But
that you cut out?
she did. I don't think you vetoed any about you. But anyway, the way that
I'm
the
not
structure
asking
worked, though.
you. I'm asking her, and she's being
I don't
purposely.
think so. but
You
I
don't
can't-
think so?
I can't remember.
Do you
I only
remember?
remember two.
She vetoed a couple. That,
You remember two? Tell me
that she
those.
vetoed.
ones.
Well, no, two that were about me. At least that I knew were about me.
Oh, interesting. Did you like vehemently X any of them out? Were you like, God, I hate this poem?
Yeah, I think there's only two that like really explicitly. There's some that was like
I
about
think
my
there were two
daughters
where
or
it was
whatever,
like
but
explicitly was about
there's two or
me.
three. Yeah.
Then what was that James Franco one that I'd already heard? So it was like,
But I'm saying like
I can't remember what the other one was. The other one was like,
she hasn't read the book for a while.
Are you doing this because you hope she'll do that for you one day? Because you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should just write whatever you want about your dad.
I
'Cause
find
you-
it really interesting.
No, I just wanted to give her an easy way to like without saying that she didn't want the poem in the book, just exit.
Right.
And doesn't have to explain why.
Yeah.
when it comes back to you writing about your dad, so here's a piece of advice
anyway,
back onto your topic that I wish I had when I was younger. It's that you have to write like your parents are dead.
Well, I've been recently interested in memoir more.
Yeah.
Kind of, and which never, I mean, I was before when I took the creative writing classes here with Dr. Sinclair. I mean, I think I said this to you one time, like before I took this class, but the way that I think creatively, if that makes sense, like when I'm thinking about stories I want to tell or poems I'm writing, like I often think of my experiences as if they're happening in the past, like as if I'm looking back at them,
Right.
even if they're fake
Like in the long past.
Yeah, even if I'm making them up, like I often I think of them in past tense, or like my first drafts.
Whoa, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Past tense. So when to me, I guess that is memoir, and like I never, or just even creative memoir. Like
But that also to me is so alien and kind of brave. Like I write everything as if it's present. Like anything I'm making up, I try to write as if it's happening now.
My first drafts are often almost always past. As if I'm looking back all the time.
I feel like that takes more bravery.
Well, I had never really thought of that as anything that could be really
It's just what came naturally.
interesting, creative. That just came naturally for me. So when I started taking a creative writing class, and we started focusing on memoir, I'm starting to find that really interesting. It's really interesting what you're saying, but like parents, like that's such a huge, often like a very big creative, like there's a big opportunity there, but there's great opportunity in those relationships and those stories that like there's a lot of fear there. You don't want to write about them.
I started this thing with my dad where we have a notebook, like a journal, and I titled it, I gave it to him, I don't know how many years ago, as a Father's Day present, I think, and I just called it The Memory Palace. And so I was writing as if he was dead. I was writing stories about him that I imagined he would never be able to read, like my remembrances of it. And then he would do the same thing, not under that constraint. He would just, because he's not a writer, he would just write. And we trade, every now and then we trade this journal, and so he'll write 5 or 6 things he remembered about me growing up, and I'll write 5 or 6 things about my memory of him. And it goes back and forth as this kind of living memoir. But in order to be able to do it, because at first I was like, oh man, this is a nice idea, but I can't.
You have to get past.
I had to get past the idea that I would have this conflict, because memory is a construct, right?
It's so subjective.
And everyone's got their subjective point of
emotionally
view on the same stuff.
Packed.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So I was shied away. This new book of mine coming out, the National Gallery, it's very weird for me because Ariel Gordon, actually, who you just mentioned, she's started doing an interview with me about it. And one of the questions she asked is like, what was your goal with this book? Like, what were you trying to do differently with this book and whatever? And I thought about it, like, what I was really trying to do differently with this book is I was trying to write a normal book.
Just write a normal book.
Well, I was trying to do, or not a normal book, but like I was trying to, not normal, but I was trying to do the things that I shy away from. Like like in my poetry, my joke is that my joke about my poetry is I don't write about my feelings much because I feel like as a straight white male aged, 35 to 45.
Yeah, who cares?
My opinions are representing the culture.
Yeah, they're already there.
You want to know how I feel? Go buy someone else's poetry book.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so one of the things I decided though with this book was without being normal and boring about it.
P.S. That should be the title of your next poetry book.
Without being
normal
and boring about it.
But I decided to be like a bit more direct about my emotional experience of certain things. Like specifically, a lot of this book is about like being a father. But in my twisted, weird way where I'm writing about Leatherface or something. But like, I try to be a bit more direct about certain things. Creepiness. Well, that was like, anyways.
Okay, so we're going to talk about it. We're of that age. We're of that same vintage now where I think there's a watershed moment where you're making fiction just to prove you can make it, right? Like just to prove that you can make a book. And then once you've made some books and you kind of tip over this age point, like, we're both in our 40s, where it's like,
I'll be in my 40s. Not yet, Greg.
oh yeah, that's right. I'm a little older than you.
This November, I'll be.
Yeah,
40.
okay. You're basically 40.
Yeah.
You're 40 now, and here you are in that place
I'm 40.
where you
November.
think about,
I'll be.
if this is the
hanging
last
on.
book I wrote, what does it say?
Well, but I've also just been thinking. I have been thinking about not like, but that's actually a thing that's
pressure.
in the book. But like I've been thinking. I mean, I've already written another book that's going to be published and everything. So it's not exactly that same thing, but it's that idea, right? Like it's that idea of like I wanted to do a lot of the things that I've kind of been not doing in my work. Like I wanted to like be a bit more like things I code. I tried to not code.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like a lot of it's still very coded.
Yeah.
But like I try just to be a bit more.
What do you mean, coded?
I mean, like I tend to
Like,
like
instead of,
bury
like-
everything under
Like
metaphors.
just being like a.
So I'm still pretty metaphor heavy, but like
Yeah,
every
like in
once in a
so
while
many
I'll come out and
poetry
just
books,
say something.
it's the if this then that. Like so, it's like if I accept
Right,
that
or-
every time he mentions the sea, he's
This
actually
is
talking
like-
about his father.
Yeah.
Right. Those
So I
kinds.
just be a bit more like
skip the if.
Yeah.
yeah, like I'll just say like flat like so I didn't want to be too confessional about things because I think it's boring for me to do that kind of thing. But I wanted to like have moments where I was just being a bit more direct.
That.
But I think for you it is more interesting if that makes sense.
Well, you're looking into so
Again,
in a lot
like,
of ways.
I'm just some old white dude.
Well, here's the thing, right? In a lot of ways, your dad and I, anything that we might have to say, we've already decided about, and now we're figuring out how
Right.
to say. You're looking at a future,
What I want to say.
yeah, and trying to like decide what shape it's going to have and what you can say about it. Like, man, I wasted my writing years that
Oh,
were
pressure
made
to
of that
write.
stuff, right? No, it's good. You're already doing the right thing, right? In that you've chosen to explore it. I didn't make that choice to explore those things, right?
Yeah, like that is another area where I feel like I don't want to like be in that mode all the time, but I feel like I kind of catching up a little bit and like doing the kind of writing that maybe I should have done when I was like 20 or 30.
Well, I've tried to make some effort lately, and by lately I mean like in the last decade, to write things for specific people in my family or to my loved ones that are just for them. They're not for publication, they're not for whatever, but they are in some regards confessional. Like they are about, they're the kind of stuff that are about my emotions, that are about how I really felt at that time, about so that they really know,
You have something to leave.
Yeah. Or at least you said it. So that if that pile of books in the storeroom falls on me, I'm not like, oh, I wish I had said that thing. Right?
It's a tough life.
It is a
The
tough
pile
life.
of books falls and you're in the ghost ship.
In the ghost ship.
Creaking. That's the problem with all the swaying in the ghost ship.
Here's one. Here's maybe, I don't know how much time we have, but
We
here's
can
the
stop
last thing.
whenever.
Promises are wishes we both want to believe in.
I feel like it's more of a Hallmark moment, but I
No.
do like it.
It's true.
Is it
It's
true?
true.
Explain that. Unpack that one for me.
Unpack that one.
Because you
Promises
can't-
are wishes we both want to believe in.
You can't,
Okay, I see.
You can't
No, I
see
get
the
it.
future.
Yeah, you can't know.
I get it now. Yeah.
Right? But you promise, and it's just a wish. And wishes, you shit in one
Try
hand,
your
wish in the other.
best to-
Right? One of them will fill up.
Huh, it's interesting.
Right?
do your best to will it into.
Yeah, but you can't,
I'm trying to think of my best bit of wisdom.
Yeah, hit us. Well, it's hard.
It is hard.
Well, you asked me my mantra earlier. My mantra.
Yeah, your mantra.
My mantra didn't really apply at the moment. My mantra is like pretty. I don't know. It's kind of lame.
Is it though?
Can't be
I
lame.
doubt
It's your
it.
Well, it's
mantra.
The
If
sun
it
will-
works.
It's mine. Just the sun will always rise again.
That is
Actually,
not
that-
lame.
But it's like.
Well,
kind of,
it's actually
like the sun. You know.
well, it's close to.
Yeah.
I like to. The thing I always come back to is this too shall pass. Like that's
Yeah, right.
my favorite
Yeah.
thing. Like
Well, mine's the same idea. It's like there's always, life continues. Like the world keeps spinning.
At least for a few hundred million years until the sun
let's
expands.
hope.
Yeah.
my favorite way of phrasing that is actually a biblical quote, which is, great study wearies the flesh, or too much study shall weary flesh, and of making many books there is no end. But of making many books there is no end. I like that idea of the process is the thing that you should be focusing on the. I mean, it's different from the "this too shall pass," but like that's the other sort of big mantra for me is like those two things.
Well,
Good or bad, this too shall pass. You know, living in the moment is important because it's going to pass, but also don't get too caught up in the moment. And then the other side of it is that
but also that life
process.
doesn't wait for you.
Yeah.
And that can you really apply that to art too.
And if things are horrible, like
Yeah, it's interesting because your idea of the
that'll
sun
pass
coming
too.
up, right? It's not just like, oh, there'll be another
But
day.
it's also that things keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So don't leave it
don't
undone.
sit in it. Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just move with it. Keep moving.
Something I wish had been explained to me very young is that
how to make a budget.
no, that too. Yeah, that too.
I taught her
That's
because
ongoing.
I never
That's
really
Now
ongoing.
that we've talked philosophy, let's talk numbers.
Yeah, let's talk
She's got
finances.
this really great.
No, listen, right? How does this work? When a hydrogen atom fuses with another hydrogen atom, it makes helium. And when that occurs, a photon is released.
You wish somebody had told you that.
I wish someone had told me that. The idea that the
explain that?
sun,
Interesting metaphor.
right?
Yeah.
That's where light comes from.
Yeah.
Right? Is that two things fuse together and make light. The sun, the whole, and we're made of that. Like our entire biosphere is fueled, right? By those lumens, that light that travels from the sun to here is made when two things that are the same, two hydrogen atoms, fuse together. They're two identical things. They fuse together, and upon fusing, they become a new thing and create the stuff of life.
I feel like that's very connected to some of the writing advice I wish I'd gotten earlier, which was so much of like what you're trying to do as a writer is manage, again, a reaction. So you're trying to do this thing on the page and do this thing with words. You're trying to do it in a particular way. And then what you're looking for is this third thing. Like there's the
reaction.
structure,
This is
there's
what
the
I mean.
word,
Yeah.
and but there's this third thing. And sometimes you have to pick a word it's maybe a little awkward, but it gives you that stutter or pause. That's gonna you can't be too smooth and you can't be too raw. You know, you've got to hit some weird. I always try to balance this very complicated structuring and subversion, that I'm interested in doing with a kind of clean, visceral engagement. Like I don't want to get too cerebral, and so when I fail as a writer, I think it's because I'm too cerebral. And when I succeed is like when I pull away from that. Like I set it up and I pull away.
It comes down to this idea of the sun. Like I'm serious. I wish I'd known that sooner. At a distance, the sun seems complicated. Like you look at that star shining, you're like, whoa, what is going on there? But at its heart, it is the simplest, right? Chemical elements, right?
Do you remember when me and Jess were editing in the corner over here a while back? She was helping me resort my book, and she made me change which poem was the first poem.
I remember that.
Do you remember that? And so,
you
that was
backed me up.
Yeah, you backed her up, and she was right. Like it's a much now. So now the first line of the first poem in the book is, "Everyone in this poem was harmed," and you guys, she was right.
jarring.
Like it's more jarring, but it's more like what I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? It's
like
a
looking at
weird
the
thing,
sun.
but it's a weird thing to say as the start of a poem.
Your dog missed you
I might
so
steal
much.
your dog.
Jess is gonna take your
I
dog.
was
Justin
this,
just
I
walked
was
in.
really close to just stealing her.
We're just wrapping up a podcast recording. And meanwhile, Justin Curry just walked in. So he's the third guest of the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, third guest.
But anyway, but I was just saying, Justin's got a cool dog here as well. That we've been playing with.
Now we're off topic.
Justin wants to steal. But that thing of everyone in this poem is harmed is that's exactly like what I'm trying to do in my work in a nutshell. It's like here's the weird, unusual opening to a poem / a book, but it's pretty direct and simple on its face. It's just like a complicated idea you're kind of drilling into, but it's flat and it's there in your face, and it's a visceral sort of smack in the face, and I feel like I wish I had more advice around. That's the balancing act you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
You want to. It's not all about what you're trying to say. It's not all about
the reaction that it creates. Yeah.
Yeah, or even just trying to set up a structure inside of which the audience can have a reaction. that's theirs.
That's theirs.
Do you know what I mean?
that's interesting, yeah.
As opposed to necessarily what I want, although I might try to push them in certain directions. Like, I think it's very much about setting up a place where they can engage with the work and not shutting them out where you're like a coded, like a guy who seems smart. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and not letting them in too much either, where it's like you're just as uninterestingly just
Which is
telling
like
them
the
how you feel.
It's the main criticism of most poetry books, right?
Yeah, like what I say when I teach creative writing is like students will always be like they're trying to express their love for their dog, let's say, and I'll say like, no, what you need to do is show me why the dog is lovely.
Right.
Like make me love the dog. Like I understand you love the dog,
Right.
and like yeah, their dog's over there.
This is
But
what we were
like-
saying about the shark, right? don't rip off the shark, right? You're ripping off the wrrong thing.
Like
Tell
how do
me
you get
how you
across
got there,
the
yeah.
emotion of fearing the shark
Yeah.
and all the things it's going to do to your family or whatever.
Yeah.
This has been writing the wrong way, where Jessie gives life advice that we should have gotten.
Yeah, we should have gotten earlier.
When she was 0 and I was 20.
Now that you're 75
Now that I'm 70, I'm an old man
on the ghost
with
ship.
my old man pants that have legs that unzip and zip back on.
Now we'll check. Now I'm going to turn on the AC and we'll see if it would have damaged our podcast. You'll know only in the last.
Yeah, now we only will know later. What's your parting thoughts, Greg? My parting words of wisdom are simply that if you're trying to create an artwork, just remember to leave a space for the audience where like they can come in and they can have like a place to play. You're not controlling it all, but you're not leaving it all to chance.
That's good. My
And life that helps, I think, to have that attitude as well. Like try not to control it all, but also like think about it. Like, as you were saying, like try to respond, like choose a response rather than just reacting. But also like don't expect it to all go how you predict. You can't pre-choose your response necessarily.
Oh man, there's a whole other podcast episode in there. Goodbye, Justin.
Goodbye.
I'll see you tomorrow for our podcast recording of Super Pulp Science.
It's my favorite podcast. Night. I just leave all that stuff in because I'm too lazy to edit half the time.
How about this? The gap, which I wrote recently in my notebook, I don't know where I stole it from. The gap between the present state and the desired state provides your reason to act. Right? We just want change. Right? We just want to change things, so we do things.
Well, even just recognizing there is that gap.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes people just get disheartened because, I see with writers all the time. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not as good as the people I want to be like. Like I'm reading this writer, I'm not as good as they are." And what I always say is like, that's great that you can recognize that because that means
It's super important. Yeah.
that's
super
like
important.
a lot of people can't recognize that, and what that means is you have taste.
Yeah.
And if you don't have taste, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you're actually like, it's a good sign, but they take it as a bad sign. I think a lot of things are like that, where it's like, in hindsight, you can look back and sort of see like, oh, well, actually, from a different point of view, like that's really great. But in the moment, maybe it doesn't seem great, or you're not where you want to be, so you're frustrated.
Well, and it comes,
You maybe have to be here now.
yeah, and it comes back around to this idea of taste that we were talking about when we were talking about Miley Cyrus earlier, right? That it's not for everyone. I'm at plenty of shows.
I could play you a Miley Cyrus song you would like.
Maybe, but the point I'm making is that
Not that she's my
I've been
favorite.
at shows where the person beside me is objectively far more talented, better at color theory, better at composition, better at everything when it comes to art, and they are there, and I am outselling them 5-1, sometimes 10-1, and it's based only on taste. And then
Yeah.
the reverse is true at other shows.
You got a different audience.
Yeah.
And
So you don't get to pick that because other people's opinions of you.
They're none of your business.
Yeah.
you say a great thing often, which is you don't get to decide if it's good.
Yeah, it's not up to you. Not up to you. But this is a good place to end this episode of Writing the Wrong Way.
I retire.
Do you have a final thought, Jesse, before we go?
I think we've just come to the conclusion that we just like can't predict or control anything, so just
So
give up.
My life lesson that I always return to: the universe
Just
is
don't try.
chaos and nightmare.
And we'll all be dead.
But hey, we just had some nice food and gonna do some fun things later.
Later.
Yeah, later.
Maybe
Later on.
this has been Writing the Wrong Way. I forget what I say at the end of Writing the Wrong Way all of a sudden.